Something that I say along the way will touch you. I know it. Let's begin that process of crafting a meaningful life.
Here's Mary Crafts.
Welcome back to Crafting a Meaningful Life. I'm Mary Crafts, and once again, I know, just delighted. This is kind of my highlight of my week. I know, boring, right? But this is because all week long, I think about what we're going to do, what we're going to say, what's of value to you this week. And it becomes like a gift. I'm preparing a gift all week long to give to you. And that's really exciting for me. So I have a very special guest today, and in fitting for so many reasons, this longtime friend of mine, Kierstin Laws. Kierstin, welcome.
Thank you, Mary. It's nice to be here. This is going to be so much fun to chat with you. You look beautiful.
As you. And maybe that's to give people a clue of what we're going to talk about. Because I was trying to think, I think you and I met each other 5 or 6 years ago. Wouldn't you think that?
Oh, it was longer than that, I'd say. Yeah, it was.
Okay.
Yeah, because
Maybe
we were
7 or
in
8.
2018. We were in Machu Picchu. Yeah, I'd say about 8 years ago now.
Okay,
Yeah.
so a long time. And the thing
Yeah, a
is,
long time.
here we are. I mean, I was 60. Now I'm 68.
Mhm.
You were whatever, and
Mhm.
now you're whatever. Okay.
Right. I'm 43 now. Totally okay to say I'm almost 43. Yeah.
25 years younger than me. Just point that out. Thank you. And but I know people say the same thing to you that they say to me. You look better than you've ever looked in your life. Right? Do people say that? All the
They
time
do.
to you.
Yeah, they can't believe that I'm old enough. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And that's kind of what we're going to talk about today. Self-care and taking care of yourself. It's not that you are going to be
Mhm.
eternally young, but we are living
Right.
in crescendo. And that this year is
Yeah.
better than last year, and next year is going to be even better than this year. And I'm saying that at this age. And so I
Yes.
know that that's possible for everyone. So
Mhm.
let's start. I want you to tell people a little bit about yourself and what you're doing with your life and where you were and where you are now and kind of where you're going. And we're going to talk a lot about other things in the middle of that.
Okay, that's great. So to tell a little bit about myself, I am a Utah native. I've lived here my whole life. I am the youngest of 4 children. I have 3 older brothers, and we have a blended family. I have an interesting background. My dad is a recovering addict. My mom came from kind of a bit of a difficult childhood, lots of love, but lots of dysfunction, and not a lot of healthy behaviors or a lot of structure. And so I had these 2 young parents. They were teenagers when they got married and had a lot of kids really quickly. My parents divorced when I was very young, and I didn't have much of a relationship with my dad until I was in my teenage years. And so that's kind of the nature of addiction, right? And so I learned very young that you can love somebody very much and still not have a confident relationship with that person, but you can thrive. You can still have somewhat of a relationship and thrive in those situations. And so I learned at a very young age what I did not want in my life, right? I had all these examples around me of the yin and yang of life, of this is what is possible if I follow suit with these family members, or I can start asking questions and start looking at other people and seeing what else is available to me. And that started very young for me, not of my own, I didn't want that to be available to me, but it was. So as I started to get into my teenage years, I hit a very severe traumatic event when I was 17 and hit a really hard depression, my very first, very deep depression, where I was medicated and I just kind of was in a bit of a weird space for the space of about a year. And in that time, as fate would have it, I was introduced to in my high school classes, some college health classes. And in those courses, I was just completely enthralled. I was so taken aback with all of the information, all these great pieces of information for sports medicine. And it lit something inside of me. I was so excited to learn about health.
So prior to that, you hadn't really been into
No,
fitness, and you were not the jock on
nope,
campus
nope,
who.
never been. I was never a cheerleader, never on drill. Now, I sang when I was all growing. I love singing, so I sang, and that was kind of a good therapeutic modality for me. But no, never had been an athlete, never played any sports. So I really had to figure out how to move my body in a therapeutic way, in a very functional way. And so at 17, I started working at a gym. And I worked at a gym in Bountiful, Utah for 3 years. And in that course of that time, I was introduced to personal trainers who helped. They were new personal trainers, so they would use me as like the guinea pig and try out some training techniques. And I learned about weightlifting. I had no idea how to be in the weight room before that time. So I was about 18, 19 at that stage. So I had
That's
gone
a
through,
and
yeah,
most young girls are kind of intimidated. Most
exactly.
old women are kind of intimidated. There's like a line they
Oh,
can't cross over in the
yeah,
gym.
right. And which is so sad. And I feel like right now that is changing. Hopefully, I think that's a
Hmm.
lot different now.
Yeah.
But definitely in the 90s, that was the idea that I grew up with in the 80s and the 90s was fat free is best, skinny is best.
Oh yeah.
Only cardio, right? Girls don't lift, they're going to get bulky. Only guys belong in the weight room. So you have to remember, I was a teenager in the time of the fat-free craze where, Molly
Right.
with butter and margarine was way better than butter, right? Which is
Yeah.
true, but it did a lot of creates a lot of hormonal dysfunction. And, that was kind of what I thought was the thing. So I went in and learned more about weightlifting. It was really empowering. Went into college and was learning all about medicine. So I wanted to be a neonatologist, which is a baby doctor. I was so on that path. So I went into pre-med and started learning more about human anatomy and physiology. And what honestly happened, Mary, it was my mind became, the more I learned, the more I realized what an absolute miracle our bodies are. They are on every cellular atomic level, they are such a miracle. And I just gained so much respect at such a young age. And I just thought, oh my gosh, people need to know this. I really did. It gained that passion inside of me to start educating people. And I shifted from pre-med, oh yeah, to health promotion and education in 1999. That's when I shifted and never looked back. So I graduated from the University of Utah in 2019. Isn't that funny? The big gap between those. So I took some time off after I got married, and my husband built our business. And so I decided to stay home with our kids and put my degree to the side a little bit, and then went back and finished in 2019. So yeah.
I think that's one of the biggest thing that I see now happening in the world around
Mhm.
fitness
Mhm.
and around um, mind opening, and that is realizing how connected they are,
Oh yeah.
the mind and the body,
Yes.
because whichever one leads
Yes.
is the result you're going to have.
Yes. That's
And I always thought that it was just my lack of willpower. But
mhm.
when I really got control of my body,
Mhm.
my mind began to wake up and say, oh, we're no longer going to hang on to those old patterns.
Yeah.
We're going to let go of those.
Mhm.
And to work together is the greatest miracle that
It
we
really
can give people.
It really is. Yeah. And I went through a severe postpartum depression after my second child was born.
Mm.
And I was suicidal. And I had just completely lost myself. I didn't know how to create any more traction. And I had learned how to move my body. I knew how to feel healthy, but I didn't know what to do with this. This was a whole other ballgame, right? And I remember thinking to myself as I was sitting there, not wanting to live, honestly, the only
Yeah.
thing my mind kept telling me to do is move. I really had the thought, move, move, move over and over in my head. And I thought, well, that must be something, right? It was my first time really tapping into my intuition in a time of crisis, honestly. The first depression, my mom kind of was there to help me navigate that. The second time, I had to figure out what is my core value in this? How do I go from internal to an external? How do I even do that? Right. And and as you know, that is a whole different motivation. When you're not thinking of other people's expectations, you're thinking of, I just from the inside out need to figure out how to do this. And that's when I really launched into, all sorts of exercise and really delving into how to get myself healthy again. And it took years, but I did it. And I was able to go off medication and really heal from the inside out. I've had other health issues along the way. Since then, I've had a lot of health issues, but they're more
Such
hormonal. And
such as like what kind of health
such as
issues? I look at you and I see the epitome of health and wellness. So I'm thinking in my head, what possibly could she have gone through?
in the world, right? So it's actually funny. We've kind of turned it into a little bit of a family joke because I have random illnesses. So I had spinal meningitis. I was in the brain trauma.
What?
I was in the brain trauma unit for 7 days at the U. That was really traumatic. It took about
Yeah.
a year to recover from that. I had skin cancer. I had a 2-inch incision on my face that I had to be cut off. I've had shingles. I had an 11-inch blood clot
Wow.
in my arm that's just randomly appeared, and I had to have my rib cut out, my rib resection. So it's funny. Here's what I've learned from this, though. So this is
Yes.
what I've learned.
Okay.
You can have these massive life, health issues that will hit you, or maybe even just childbirth or an illness like influenza or even COVID or something like that, right? But if you're living a healthy lifestyle, you can mitigate the effects of all of these things, and you can heal quicker and you can recover quicker, and your body has the strength to heal from these issues. That's the one thing I learned that was the true test of my lifestyle behaviors, is when I got sick and when I had to have surgery and when I had to recover. In fact, Mary, when you and I went and hiked Machu Picchu, that was a month after the surgery. I had just barely, not even 4 weeks after
I had no idea.
having thoracic surgery, right? And I'm hiking in Machu Picchu, and that really did have to do a lot with I give all the credit to my lifestyle and being
Yeah.
really, really consistent, not overly strict, not getting stuck in the weeds, but really just being consistent day by day, because when these things hit us, and they hit everybody, not one of my clients has a free pass to a carefree life. That's just not the way life is, right?
It isn't the way
Not
life
the way
is
it works.
by the plan. The
Exactly.
plan is that we're not going to have a journey that has no struggle, no trial, because we learn nothing from that.
Exactly.
Nothing.
No.
And
Yeah.
we learn through the hardships. It's crazy when I think about Machu Picchu. And I do believe, in fact, I know I was the oldest person on that trip. And when we started up Machu Picchu, I just thought, I hope I can do this.
Yeah.
And then you and I, there were 6 of us who signed up to go on up to the Sun Gate. And I just thought, I want to go there, but I'm so much older. I don't know if I can make it, But there was a mind-body connection.
Yes.
And so many times in my life, I had let that connection, that fear, keep me from even taking the first step.
So true.
And I was like, not this time.
Oh,
You're going.
true. So inspiring, right? You really can be an
Yeah.
inspiration to yourself, which may sound kind of
Yeah.
arrogant to some people. But when you go through a hard trial and you do it, you really should tell yourself, good job, we did it.
Yeah.
And we can do it again. And we can do it again. You have to celebrate your wins. That's what the motivator is, to keep going.
Yeah.
When another, illness or another thing hits you in the face, or heaven forbid, you gain 20 pounds back, which is a hard thing for a lot of women, right? But you know that you've got the courage to do it again if that's really what you need to do. So that's the thing, is celebrating those wins. Climbing the hill, getting to the top and saying, I did it again, is really empowering.
Yeah. It really made a difference for me when I went to climb Kilimanjaro, to know that I had climbed that. And even though Kili is at 19,400, and we went to 14,000, they had told me that if you can go to 14,000 without oxygen and not get sick or the headaches, chances are you can go all the way on up. And when I did, I mean, we were up there. I didn't have that. The person I went with, she was nauseous and she had headaches, and I didn't. And I thought, that's one more step of confidence. You got this. You got this.
Yeah, I completely agree. Yeah. So that was really the energy I took into when the pandemic hit, right? That was right after I'd graduated. So then really the rubber hit the road because then nothing made sense. For me, at least in our world, everything just kind of went topsy-turvy. And all the things that made sense in our world was kind of like, we're not quite sure what's going on. So again, I had to incorporate more of the mindfulness practices for me. I have a lot of anxiety. Like I said, I struggled with depression. So to
Yeah,
keep
yeah.
myself out of falling back into those old mind patterns, I had to really engage a lot of mindfulness practices. And I did a 9-week MBSR course, which is mindfulness-based stress reduction. And it's so powerful.
Wow.
Amazing. And I did that in the middle of the pandemic because I thought if there's anything that's going to keep me healthy, it starts here first. I've got to keep this
Yeah.
healthy. And then it follows. It's just like you said
Yeah.
before. And so that's what I did. I did the mindfulness-based stress reduction 9-week course, followed through. And then last year, that's when I did my health coach training. It was through the Institute for Integrative Nutrition. It's based out of New York City. And
Ah,
it's an amazing program. It's actually a year-long program. I did the expedited program because I wanted to get through it quick. So it was fast and furious, and it was all encompassing for about 6 to 7 months. And
wow.
yeah, it was
You
intense.
know, and that's when I really noticed the difference on your Instagram. We've been friends,
Mhm.
and every once in a while something would pop up in your feed, and I'd see something about you and your family and so on. But after that,
Yeah,
everything changed
everything.
on your feed,
Yep.
and you have this new website,
Yes.
Clean Fitness, clean
Cleanfitwellness.com.
cleanfitwellness.com, but clean is spelled with a K, right?
A KL.
Clean.
So after Kierstin Laws. Yeah, yeah. And that's when all the stars aligned and it made sense, right? My health educator background, that's what I have my degree in, health education, and then this health coaching, everything made sense. It was like Western and Eastern meets for this beautiful fusion. And it just
I
is
loved it.
exactly what I believe. Yeah.
And to see you promoting healthy food as well as exercise and fitness, you weren't just focused on a singular thing like, okay, this is how you need to eat, or
Mhm.
this is yoga and this is how you need to do it, or get to the gym and start pumping iron. You have
Mhm.
this such well-rounded thing. I learned stuff, and I think I know I'm an expert on on this concept. But when I was just on your feed today,
Mhm.
and I was watching you do the glute crunch with
Uh-huh.
those hamstrings, you know what I'm talking about?
Uh-huh. Yeah.
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 And as I watched that contraction,
Yeah.
like and I thought, I don't visualize that in my head like that. If I need to visualize that when I make that crunch
Mhm.
like that, and and that's called, isolating the muscle.
It is.
Because if you can focus on that, you can just like feel that muscle contraction.
Mhm.
I was like, okay, when I go to the gym, I'm gonna do that today.
Yes. Isn't
And
it
I've
empowering?
been yeah, it is.
Yes. And it's interesting. I tell my clients, I say, I want you to sit up straight. There's so much that
Oh yeah, so much of us. Yeah.
we just need to open ourselves up to all of the beautiful strength that's within us. And that starts with posturing. And that starts with, like you said, mind in the muscle when you work out. It's less of a how do I look at the end of this as how do I feel? You need to go by the whole motivation for your wellness should be how do I feel? And not how do I look to everybody else and how does everybody else think I feel? How do I truly feel on the inside of me? And is on the inside of me, is it matching on the outside? That is what all this is about. This integrative is holistic. This whole person approach is how are your relationships? How is your career? How's your home environment? How is how's your spirituality? So many times we stop tapping into these things that matter so much more than the food on our plate. Those are primary foods. Those are the things that matter so much more than just you could eat all the kale in the world and still be so unhealthy, right? It's true. I could give you a
Absolutely.
list of all the healthy foods you should eat. And we talk a lot about what is healthy. What's healthy for me may not be what's healthy for you. So it's really individual. It's very, very important to tap into your own individual needs and say, I have an individual thumbprint of a body. So my needs are going to be very different than your needs. And we can still be healthy. It just is going to look very different. So working with a coach individually, that's what it's about. It's a guide on the sidelines. Coaches don't play on the field. They have a strategy and a plan on the sidelines with the players, and then the player executes the plan. And the coach, helps course correct and helps motivate and helps hold accountability. And that's basically what I do, and it's an honor, because
Yeah.
the actual client is doing all the work. They're doing exactly what they need rather than me telling them what I think they need. Does that make sense? So it's so much more
Absolutely.
intuitive, and it's has more staying power. The change they feel is inside all of them. They all come to me feeling like it's about the weight, thinking that they have to just be more, like you said, if I just was more disciplined, if I just could, love myself more, if I could, all of these.
I have no willpower. No willpower. It has nothing to do with willpower.
And I tell them they're not allowed to say failure, that
Yeah.
failure doesn't allow the F word, because the greatest thing that keeps us from becoming our greatest self, the worst thing that we can do is get stuck in the shame cycle. And as soon as people
Oh,
get stuck in this, shame is
yeah.
the most insidious, in my opinion, as a coach. When people get stuck in the shame cycle, that's the best way to get stuck in feeling like a failure all the time. Not a failure, you fell down, right?
I didn't realize until I began to work through the shame issue how much
Mm.
shame played a part in my life from such a young age. I think as
Mhm.
parents, we don't realize what we do when we say things like, "What were you thinking?" or "Why would you do that?" or,
Yes,
"Well, your sister doesn't," or blah, blah. We don't even stop to think how that sounds to them.
so true.
It's a shaming thing.
Yes, so
Like,
true.
okay, I'm not good enough. I think we even do that as we talk to our children who are boys and girls.
Yes.
Okay, Joey, go out and mow the lawn. Susie, go in and do the dishes.
Yes. Isn't that
We
interesting?
we program them to believe that boys can do physical things and girls should just do less physical things in the
Yes.
kitchen, you
Yeah.
know, and it just is not that way.
Yeah.
We're waking up. The world is truly waking up to those who want to listen.
It's so true. And I can attest to that. I've got a daughter that's 20, almost 21 this year, and she's 5'2" and she's strong. She was a competitive athlete. She loves her muscles. She loves her strong body. She's sharing her message on her Instagram. And it's really empowering to see how many girls reach out to her and say, I love myself because I see myself in you. And I think that's the message that I want to get across to women is we are all in this together. We all have hardships. We all have difficult things. We all have our own health issues that we're dealing with. You just can't see them on the surface sometimes, right?
Right.
I tell them that I have an internal battle. Mine is internal. And if I don't take care of my immune system, apparently my body likes to get really weird
Hmm.
illnesses, right? So it's really, really important for me to take care of myself for me. And the external beauty comes with that, right? Luckily, we can start to shine a little bit more on the outside when we start to take care of the inside of us. And that has nothing to do with green juice. That has a whole heck of a lot more to do with the internal environment of your soul, of how is your
Yeah.
mind doing. And I recommend that my clients get therapy. I really am a huge proponent of therapy and going to a doctor. And I ask them to get their blood work done at the very
Hmm.
beginning. So it's almost working in a trifecta of support, right? The more support you can get, the better. So many women get blood work done and they're told by their general practitioner, you're normal, you're fine. And they can feel sick for years and be told and dismissed over and over how many times they're just normal. They're in the normal range, so they shouldn't worry about it. Keep asking questions. Go find another doctor that will listen to you because it is valid. If you don't feel well, you don't feel well. It's not in your head. You've got to start digging. Your health is worth the dig. It's worth the effort. It's worth the money and the time, right?
Absolutely.
And that's just so hard for so many women that I work with. They put themselves on the back burner for so long. They don't even know what they like anymore. They don't know what they think anymore. They don't know how they feel. They don't know what their core feels like anymore. So it's a really powerful process and critical. Yeah.
And I have so many people that I did for 50 years. For 50 years of my life, I
Mm.
believed that the less I did for myself and the more I did for others, the more Christ-like I was.
Yeah.
And to be honest with you, uh, Christ took 30 years of his life taking care of himself,
Yeah.
preparing himself, tuning into spirituality, listening, learning. And then he went on a mission for 3 years. But he spent 30 years on himself. That
So
should
powerful.
tell us something.
Yes.
And that when
Yes.
we actually learn who we are and what we're about and our strengths and build them, then we're finally ready to lift and help others.
Yes. 100%.
So you got to this powerful point where you said, now my mission is to lift and help others.
Yes. And you know what? There's a lot of fear, right? How many times have you felt fear as you push against that wall of, I don't know,
my.
who am I to belong in this space, right? And that the naysayer in your brain is telling you, oh, you don't belong here. You don't have anything new to teach. You have to really push against that fear. A lot of the time, my clients will come to me and say, I don't know if I can do this. I don't know if it's the right time for me. And my only answer to them is, there is no right time. There's no right time to start taking care of yourself. There will never be a time where life slows down and all of the stars align and there's a beautiful synchronicity and everything's perfect. That just doesn't exist.
It doesn't.
So if you
It is.
Yeah, it's today.
That syndrome of waiting.
Yeah, it's right now. So that's the message I want to get across to people. Is just there's so much more to you than your food and your movement. And that's the beautiful thing about you. Is you're worth digging in through those layers to see, where do I feel balanced? I share this. I was going to show you this. This is actually a diagram that I share with my clients. It is basically a pie of all the areas of our lives that make us who we are. And it's our joy, our spirituality, our creativity, our finances, career, education, health, physical activity, home cooking, home environment, relationships, and social life.
Okay, stop.
Right?
Stop.
Okay.
Those so critical. I want you to go back and read them again.
So it is absolutely critical that we understand that we are so much more than just our body. We are a body, mind, spirit, and they have to be working in tandem with each other. If you ignore your soul for so long, your body, like you said before, your body doesn't know how to function without a functioning soul. Our minds don't know how to feel clear if our bodies are unhealthy. It's just the nature of it, right? So there's so many. I'll tell you the 4 main areas that I really focus on first with my clients. It's their home environment, their spirituality, their relationships, and their career. And why are those 4 areas? Or actually, I'm sorry, their physical activity. Those 4 areas are the most important. If you can get in tap with, let's say, I tell the clients, and they don't know even where to begin. I'll say, how's your water? How's your movement? Right? How is your sleep? And how's your connection? Right? Those are 4 areas. If they can tap into those 4 areas, then they can feel like, okay, how's my water? I don't drink enough water. Do you know the cascade of just drinking water on your physiology and your mental state? I mean, I could go on forever. Water is so critical. We all know this, but we don't.
And I ask people, I don't ask them how much water they drink. I ask them, what color is your pee?
Yeah. Is it clear or is it dark yellow? Right?
Yeah, dark yellow.
How's your poop? I mean, nobody wants to talk about that, but it really is important. Our bodies tell us they give us so many cues that we ignore over and over. If you're overly fatigued for too long, there's a reason for that. But try water first, right? Try your water first. Try to get a little bit more rest. How connected do you feel to the people in your life? You know, I think people discount the quality of their relationships as being non-health related, but it's critical to our health.
Absolutely.
Human beings are not meant to be islands. We're meant to be connected. And if you don't have a human to connect to, do you connect to a pet? Do you have something to connect to that helps feel that, feed that spiritual, that part of us that so needs to be connected to other people? And then movement. We start with walks. I just tell my clients, I'm like, go for a walk today. If you just need to walk down to the corner and back, that's all you need to require of yourself, right? Sometimes it's just so much simpler, and we put off the simplest tasks because they seem too simple.
And that's just where I started.
Yeah.
I started with just walking,
Yeah.
and I could only walk 15 minutes.
Yeah.
And, now I can walk for an hour straight uphill,
Yeah. Yeah.
and, get it done quick and love it. But I didn't start there.
Yeah. And how many
And
years
I
did that
see,
take you?
of course, I now go to the gym every day,
Mhm.
and I see people who are extremely overweight,
Mhm.
and their trainers have them starting
Mm.
over on weights.
Mhm.
I'm like, whoa, whoa, whoa.
Mhm.
Let's start some good routines first. Let's get the circulation up. Let's get some cardio going. You, this is not the time to build muscle mass.
Yeah.
So, eventually, and not too long, you obviously want muscle mass to
Mhm.
to burn calories, but to see them starting them there just kind of breaks my heart. It
Yeah.
just
Well, and
needs
you
to
want
be movement.
yeah, and you want to have goals that you can attach yourself to, right? That you feel like you can actually do. Our brains are
Right.
so smart. So if I were to say to somebody who's just starting on their health journey, I want you to go run 100 miles tomorrow. You can totally do it. You have legs, you have lungs, you have a heart. Go run 100 miles. Their brain already knows that's not going to happen.
That's not happening.
Just not an attainable goal, not physically or mentally. So you have to step back, and I say to my clients, I'm like, let's reverse engineer that goal. And let's go back and back and back until we're to the very root of that goal. Then you make a goal from that spot, right? So if I want to walk 100 miles someday or run 100 miles, you've got to start with the first step. What can you do today? What do you feel like you could actually accomplish today? There's got to be a win at the end of that, right? Otherwise, there's no motivation to keep going. And that's in any area of your life. With your finances, if you're, $100,000 in debt, you've got to start with the very, very basic financial concepts. Start there and keep going. Yeah. So it's really just how can you find the wins in your life through these small steps that add up over time?
So I've been going to the same gym now for 18 years, and I'm kind of known as Mother Mary,
Uh-huh.
who comes and speaks words of wisdom. Just let it be, let it be. And one of the things I tell women as I see them, I think as we grew up, we were not proud young women,
Mhm.
proud of being women, particularly in my generation.
Mhm.
And so we learned to walk with our shoulders slumped over, hiding our breasts.
Mhm.
And that,
Mhm.
especially as you start to get breasts, you begin to slump more and more. And
Yes.
so
Yeah.
women know now in my gym that if I see them, I will just come up behind them and go, "You are beautiful." And I'll be from behind and I will pull their shoulders back and
Mhm.
let their breasts stick out. I
Mhm.
say, "You are beautiful." Now continue to work
Mhm.
out just in that posture. Claim all that you are. And that's the beautiful thing about what we get to do is we get to help people claim who they are.
Yes.
So if you were to now in our final
I
minutes,
completely agree with that.
if in your final minutes here, you have a lot of women,
Mhm.
ages 20 to most of them age 60, who are
Mhm.
young families, who have careers, who have children who are leaving the home, but are
Mhm.
wanting, so desiring to find the next step for their life. What would you tell them?
Yeah. First of all, I would tell them to take a deep breath. Truly. Take a really deep breath and then get very exactly, there's so much cleansing and clarity, oxygenating, giving oxygen to our brains, and then really just start paying attention to themselves. Awareness is the very first step. It's the first step to getting reconnected to what we want, what we're feeling. I would ask them to ask themselves a few questions. What's right and what's wrong? What's working for me and what's not working for me? How
Hmm.
can I pivot from this place? Because from a place of awareness, that's where you can start making change. But it really does take a little bit of quieting and stilling our minds, shutting down that shame monster inside of us and just saying, I am exactly where I am right now because I'm supposed to be. Where can I go from here? How can I use the past as a catalyst for change by using not as a shame tool, but as I don't want to be there anymore. I would like to be here. And then thinking about the steps. How can I do one step towards that direction? That's what I would tell them to do.
Ah, how in tune we are, because that's exactly what I tell them.
Mm.
I said, go quiet and allow your
Mhm.
mind to go deep, and
Mhm.
you can teach yourself what you need.
Yeah.
And it might
Your
need
mind.
to be listening to a podcast or be on
Mhm.
Connect with Kierstin. It might be visit this website. It might be just come back and listen to me every day here in
Yeah.
deep, quiet thinking. But
Yeah.
it has to start there with awareness, Kristen.
Mhm.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for being with me today.
You're
You've
so
given
welcome. Thank you for
all
having
of
me.
us
Truly, it was an honor. Thank you so much.
my pleasure, my dear friend. And
Aw.
to everyone who's listening, let's find more reasons, more ability, more lifting inside of ourselves so that we can lift others and craft our meaningful life.